stance on this? Are you for or against the new hotel in this town?
Well, I haven't heard the full story of it yet. I mean, they're supposed to come and give their presentation at the next meeting on the 18th. I know they're doing some numbers, but I know we did sit down with them and they talked about some of the things that they had on their studies, but I don't think they had I don't think they had all the numbers there to actually back up what they're saying.
And where do you stand?
I mean, at this point, I don't know where I stand. I don't have all the information on it.
You got a lot of information from existing business owners.
When you met with us, Joe, how come we weren't informed?
Well, whenever they've met, a lot of times when businesses come, you know, if they come and they're looking for a site, they were looking for a site, that type of thing, and they have a confidentiality that obligation that I have to have to do. So at
They
that point,
want us to make a decision, but they don't want to be talked to.
well, I mean, I guess what they're doing is they're trying to do their paperwork or their groundwork or whatever. I mean, that's with any business that comes in. Majority of them, if they come in and they look at wanting to get property or whatever, a lot of times they have a confidentiality obligation. And I can't let all that out.
Your Honor,
That's the vote on it.
Your Honor, just one comment I'd have is that this is a free country, a free economy, and anybody has the right to come to some town and invest. But it's different when they start asking for use of TIF funds and government money. As long as they're using their own money, they have a right to build, a big hotel if they want to. But when they start coming to you as city government and wanting preferential tax treatment and use of TIF funds, I think that's when you as a council have to decide whether you want to support the local industry that's already here or try to get the new folks in.
And that's where, that's kind of where we was at. They wanted to go into the TIF area. Well, then that's when Nancy got involved when we got to the meeting with the economic development, and then they're going to be coming to the council, present it to the council. And that's kind of where we're at that point.
But what Alderman Bleckley's talking about was we didn't know anything about it until last Tuesday, so when the meeting came about.
It seems to me that regardless of what they say or what they have to bring to you, if they put in an 80 bed and they get half of what he's got out there, people-wise, they each run 20% and nobody makes it, then we don't lose all of our hotels. I mean, no matter what he says, it's a fact. If he puts in 80 beds, he's only running 40% or a little better, that he takes half the business, nobody makes it.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know what all the numbers are. Like I said, and that's the council will have to decide that, at that time.
When we built, they said there was a casino coming in, probably on its way.
Last weekend, the council didn't decide who the police chief was going to change to. You did.
Brad, did you confront one of the businessmen in town about the property where it be located?
I talked to Mr. Best, he said, I don't know the high street property, I do believe.
It would seem to me that you would protect what we already have
I agree.
as best as possible.
I do agree. It does have big fees to support both.
Well, Your Honor, when they come here on the 18th, they're just going to make their presentation.
They're going to make a presentation.
So we're all able to be here, and you're not going to vote on it at that time.
No.
You're going to give us time to prepare our side of it then also.
Correct. Yeah, we're not going to be voting on anything. They're just going to give their presentation. I mean, they found the property and went through their process. you know, now it comes to the presentation portion of it.
And the council members are the ones that decide whether they get the TIF money or whether they don't get the TIF money. There's no other ruling of any kind that they just automatically get anything if they qualify. It's either the council gives it to them or they don't get it.
No, I think that there's a bigger group of people that look into this, the TIF money itself. I think there are, there's a TIF board in this community. And I think that those people should all be informed. I think that they haven't been all informed about this, and I think that the school district would be very upset also if they even thought of extending this TIF. You know, we have 8 years left on the TIF, and I don't know that it would be in the best interest of anyone or the city to extend that. I don't think that this business would be able to come about if they didn't extend the TIF. In my opinion, I don't think that that would be something that any of us would want to see, because of course when the TIF district is over in 8 years, then that money's going to go back to the schools. That money's going to go back to the cities, and that's something that we have to look into. But I do think there is a TIF board, Mr. Roth.
But if the council were to decide not to give anyone else other than who they have presently, I'm not sure I'm going to use the right language, but contracted with or agreed to pay out, if there is excess TIF money due to the construction of the new buildings and that out there, they get an excess amount. If we allow that to mature or don't earmark it or don't use it, then that can be used for other infrastructure, can be used to go back to the schools if the council decides. I am just trying to define who is the end result deciding factor or body. It is a council, and that they can decide, give the money to the schools, give it to somebody else, use it for infrastructure.
That would be something for legal. I mean, they have it.
There is, well, a lot of that TIF money at a certain point, if you hold TIF money to a certain time, then that TIF money, if you don't use it within the TIF area, whether you're doing improvements, whether it be water lines, sewer lines, or whatever it might be, then that money would at some point in time revert back to the taxing body.
So if we have 371,000, we meet our obligations, whatever they are, and we have whatever is left, 300,000, 150 that goes back to the school, 20% goes to the city, just as it's divided up on our tax statements?
That I couldn't answer you 100% on that one because I'm not totally sure.
Yeah, I'm not totally sure without checking the statutes, but I believe that is correct, John. I think it would be pro rata refunded like that to the various taxing bodies in accordance with their.
But without even that occurring, the city could option to use that money inside of the TIF district to enhance the infrastructure, thereby relieving pressure from the rest of the city to use what money they generate in the rest of the city and not have to make expenditures for possibly infrastructure inside of the TIF district itself. Would that be also a possibility here?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. And then like what Don was referring to when we talked earlier, like if you created a corridor for a TIF area, like say for instance, if we did connect it through the business area here, as long as it was connected to that TIF area, you can actually use that money to then go into this area for infrastructure and that type of thing. But without any connecting corridors to the existing TIF, you can't take that money out of that area.
But we all have input, and you've been generous in allowing us to do that here tonight, and we've all done so, and we have these various advisory boards that you've talked about. But I'm still not clear that the ultimately where the money goes is decided by the alderman. Correct? They ultimately decide. We can all counsel them or advise them or whatever, but they make the decision that we're going to give it to the Roger Strong, or we're going to not give it, but give it to him, or we're going to use it for some other for some other purpose.
Now, the $370,000 that's in the existing TIF now, it's not like that we would not just give them that money.
No,
But
part of
they
it is earmarked for present facilities, and you're making payouts annually to previous contracts that you've had with other people
Yeah.
that have built out there.
And the only thing that they would generate would be any type of reimbursement that they would incur, just like any other TIF business that's out there, like we have quality vending on here. You know, the only thing that they would do is what they would actually generate for reimbursement. You know, we wouldn't give them the $370,000.
I understand that. I'm trying to
Yeah,
clarify
I mean,
here.
it's something that they have to generate in order to get reimbursed back.
Right. But an 80-bed facility would generate a huge amount of real estate taxes, which would then go into the TIF fund, which would then, if you agreed to it, would pass to them, and not to the schools or not to the city. And that's the point I was trying to make.
Yeah, and it's up to the 8 years, what's the life of the TIF.
Unless you extend it. I had heard the rumors that the new group coming in was attempting to get the existing TIF extended for more years. I could see the economics of it. I don't think they can get their money out of it in 7 years or so after they build the facility and everything, and then try to get their money out in 7 years. If I understand, there wouldn't be enough input of money into it for them to get out the huge amount of money they would need to build an 80-bed facility on the site that we're all talking about here. As you know, Joe, that would cost an enormous amount of money to develop that site there. They would need you to extend that TIF for a number of years in order for them to generate enough money to pay for it. I believe I'm correct in this. That's my feeling on it there, at least.
Yeah, and I think as far as like a TIF extension, I think that's a lot more difficult to do than.
Then, yes.
Well, it takes an act of the state legislature to extend the TIF.
Yeah.
It cannot be done by this
Yeah,
body
no,
anyway.
yeah, we can't do that. That
The
is-
body may have to pass some kind of a resolution requesting that the legislature do.
Did they ask you for an extension of it?
They
Did the
they
group
wanted
come
to
in?
know if there was any other incentives, which at that time, I directed them to the county as far as.
And they appear to still be interested, although they know that this TIF is going to mature in maybe 8 years or so, in which they're not, it's going to take them a year or two to build it. Then they're only going to get 6 years in the TIF, and they appear to be interested in that yet. I can't see the
Like I said, I
economics.
think they still have to do their numbers. I mean, they don't have all their numbers
Sure.
yet.
I don't understand it, but I don't see the numbers in it here. They only got 6 or so years left, and how do they get this done? And if we got to go through the state legislature, we may be arguing about something that they haven't done their homework on.
There might only be 3 years left by that time.
That could be very possible.